conference should launch, as expected, the process of negotiations for the second commitment period of the protocol.
What we take home with us from Montreal will be the experience of being one of history's greatest moments, or being part of one of a growing list of missed opportunities.
I'm Tom Henwood for SourceCode. We're here in front of the Palais de Congrès in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, where the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is meeting for the 11th time.
The recent hurricanes and typhoons in the Gulf of America and in the Southeast Asia are rude reminders that climate change is real and a current rather than an impending disaster.
With global warming affecting so many people this past year, the conference marked a turning point. 157 nations have committed to enacting the Kyoto Protocol's goals and are now working to reduce carbon dioxide emissions in an attempt to slow down global warming. This represents an incredible success after more than a decade of worldwide negotiations, except for one thing. The US has officially refused to participate.
The US delegation representing we Americans here, led by a fellow named Harlan Watson, has come to these talks saying that not only will the U.S. not be responsible for our global warming emissions, but that that delegation wants to prevent the other developed countries from committing to deeper reductions.
We think that the United States should do its fair share. The United States is 4% of the world population. It has about 20% of the world's emissions.
After 2012, it would be necessary to include big emitters such as the United States, because if big emitters as the United States are not included, then the protocol would be a dead convention.
We are here making the case that we need strong U.S. leadership to reduce global warming pollution, and that we are not seeing that leadership out of the President Bush and his administration, or yet out of the Congress, the U.S. Congress as a whole.
In direct contradiction to the current administration's position, strong support from the people of the U.S. is evident and growing. The real leadership is on the grassroots level, city by city. So says Seattle Mayor Greg Nickels, who is organizing to bypass the federal stone wall and to ratify Kyoto.
On February 16th, the Kyoto Protocols became law in 141 countries. And on that day, the city of Seattle committed to taking local action to achieve the goals of the Kyoto Protocols, and both in spirit and in letter. And I challenged mayors across the country to join with me in taking local action to show our state governments and our federal government that it's safe, that it can be done without economic disruption.
The U.S. Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement now includes over 200 cities, including one in George Bush's backyard. Denton, Texas is typical of many formerly small communities that find themselves engulfed by the growth of nearby big cities and overwhelmed by the big-time problems that growth brings with it.
We opened in 1998.
Has Denton changed a lot since then?
A lot more people. And again, more people means more stress on everything, you know, the city's resources, the natural resources.
Euleen Brock was one of the first mayors to sign the Mayor's Climate Protection Agreement. The need for emissions reductions, she says, is obvious.
When you can no longer see the blue sky, you know, that we used to be able to see every day, then you know something's happening. We can see the skyscrapers in downtown Dallas maybe about one day out of 30.
Denton is suffering from a 20% jump in population in the past 5 years, with increased commuter traffic and a decrease in air quality. Participating in the Kyoto Accord and reducing emissions isn't about abstract global efforts. It's a direct effort to improve the quality of life for the people of Denton.
We have one of the largest miles traveled per day per capita of any area in the entire country, including Southern California. So its automobile emissions are at the heart of our problem. Of course, we're doing a lot in the community. We're trying to make our community more walkable so people won't be getting in their cars so much. we are, of course, promoting mass transit. And we are going to have a train coming to Denton. It's going to be about 5 years from now, but that's 25 years sooner than anyone expected.
The Bush administration argues that the costs of emissions reductions will hurt business. Mayor Brock has found just the opposite.
I think there's a general perception, or too strong a perception out in the public, that it's expensive to pay attention to the environment. But I don't think that's true within the city of Denton. We are building what, so far as we can find out, is the first LEED certified fire station in the United States.
LEED provides national design standards for energy efficiency and green building.
We can actually do the numbers and show that it will save money long term. But in the meantime, our firefighters who live there round the clock will have a much healthier environment to work in.
Denton is also putting existing infrastructure to use. Landfill methane, a greenhouse gas 20 times more harmful than carbon dioxide, is being trapped and reused.
Since we own our own landfill, we have control and responsibility for the methane gas emissions. Well, we have chosen to use that methane gas as a fuel to generate biodiesel. The material that we're making that from is used French fry oil. And since we have 2 universities here and a lot of restaurants, we have a lot of French fries being consumed. And so we're using thousands of gallons of used French fry oil, and that's where we're getting the biodiesel for all these solid waste trucks.
Can we the people make the policies of the current administration ultimately irrelevant? U.S. mayors are staging a quiet revolution in the U.S. attitude toward climate change.
When you start couching it in those terms of how we live our daily lives and how we not only live in a healthy environment, but we can actually save money, then you don't have to be a crazy environmentalist.